Welcome back, Sleepyheads, and thanks for tuning in to another episode of Sleepy Aliens Perspective. I'm your host, Ashley, and I want to talk about needle spiking. So since women have been able to protect themselves while they're at clubs, bars, and festivals by using drink covers and testing strips that can detect GHB or Rohypnol, the dark forces just had to get clever and they had to find a way to take things to the next level. So now we have MFers going around using needles to quickly jab victims, incapacitate them, impacting their vision, causing nausea, memory loss, inability to move or speak, because you really never know how a drug is going to impact an individual. I think it's different for a lot of people. I know I've had some people that I know say when they have to take, pharmaceutical grade painkillers, and they'll be like, oh, it gives me energy. Other people say, oh, it makes me tired. Or people who take Adderall are oh, it really makes me feel down. And some people say it makes them feel really up. You just never know how a drug is going to impact somebody. So now these criminals are basically going around at bars, music festivals, and clubs and just jabbing people really quickly. And authorities are at a loss for how they're able to do this without drawing attention, because they're in crowded spaces. People are wearing clothes, layered clothes. And so how are they able to get that needle through so quickly? Exactly where are they jabbing them? Authorities don't even know for sure what drugs are being used, because in a lot of cases the victims aren't able to report what's happened to them. And also the simple fact that the drugs pass through the body so quickly. So these reports have been coming out since 2021, and it's going all over the planet. And I'm talking in the US and Greece, London, Australia, and France. And during a recent music festival in France, more than 150 people reported being needle spiked, which is crazy at a single event. Authorities suspect that people are being spiked either with Rohypnol, GHB, ketamine, tranquilizers, or amphetamines. So officials are still trying to understand exactly what's being used, how it's being injected. It's a huge mystery, and I think that's the most frustrating part. And as in many cases when people are drugged at bars, even without the needle spiking, it's really hard for detectives and authorities to find the culprits, understand what happened, when it happened, how it happened. A lot of clubs, bars, festivals don't have cameras everywhere. And these criminals know how to lure somebody into a secluded area, or even just find somebody in a vulnerable moment when they step outside of a bar or a club, or they step off to the side during a festival, and then that's when they attack. You really just don't know. What really surprised me, I was reading this article, and there's this guy, his name is Colin Mackey. He runs a needle spike awareness nonprofit, essentially. And he says that he thinks the needle spiking is not motivated by SA or robbery, but he believes that it's like a prank, which I find so ridiculous. And that just, sets me off in my conspiratorial mindset. Because when I think there's an individual running around a festival spiking anybody, over 150 people with a needle, I'm thinking bioweapons, I'm thinking viruses, I'm thinking someone's trying to spread hepatitis, or they're trying to spread HIV. And I think there's also a risk of essentially people being used as test subjects for, it could be a terrorist group, it could be some mad person who's trying to create this bioweapon. You just never know. And that's why I never really buy that initial narrative that's being spread. But there are some TikToks of people talking about this, so I just want to play some of those. And Sleepyheads, you can share your thoughts, what you think in the comments below, and be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And also help me out here because I am shadow banned and I find it's been really difficult. I can only do so much when it comes to the algorithm. And after I made my day 26 video about Diddy, literally I got a strike, and I had to remove something from one of my videos about Diddy and repost it. And then after that, I've had low view numbers. So I know this is like systematic, and my freedom of speech is being suppressed on this, on YouTube, as many people experience this. And it's so frustrating when I see channels with, news or law and crime, and they're able to say all the words that a lot of smaller content creators are afraid to say. And so we have to use code words for everything because we're so paranoid about the algorithm. Anyways, so show me some love. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and take a look at these TikToks. Let me know what you think. And Sleepyheads, I will talk to you again soon.
I woke up in a bit of pain in my arm, and from there, tried to piece together what had happened, really. It was just a night out. I wanted to go see the venue. But arriving at Ivy, we went to the bottom club first, and then from there, I think we had like 2 drinks. Everything blanks about probably 2 hours into the venue. So from about 5:30 to 6 o'clock at night, it blanks out to me completely. I'm not too sure of how I got home, but we presume I walked home. It's just all a big black patch for me. I didn't go to police or the hospital in Sydney. From what I've been told from people in Sydney is they don't believe when people bring that to them. So I didn't feel comfortable going to the police or anything just because I knew nothing would come from it. After everything happened, I feel I'm still a bit anxious when going out, because I remember we went to a festival probably a month or 2 after I got back from Sydney. And before that, I even went to the festival, I had a bit of an anxiety attack, panic attack, whichever one you want to call it. And that took me a bit to go out. Even at the festival, someone just touched my back and I felt like I'd been spiked, and just based off the pure fear that it might happen to me again. I still really don't go clubbing because I don't feel safe doing it. But yeah, it definitely affected my mental health when it comes to going out to events and just going out in general, really. But I never thought it could happen to me. It sounds stereotypical of being a male. I never thought it would happen to me. So for it to actually happen to myself is a big shock.
I just saw a video of a woman in a hospital in heels. First of all, slay. But the reality is somebody spiked her while she was out. And they're calling this thing needle spiking. So because women have figured out a way to protect ourselves, right? So when we go out, the whole make sure your drinks are covered, make sure you take your drink with you or have somebody watch your drink, make sure that, nobody can spike your drink. So instead of spiking drinks, you're spiking the actual human being. What is wrong with you? What is wrong with people? What is wrong with some of these men on this earth? You guys are sick. And the fact that some people think that women are just objects to do as whatever they please. Everyone, and I mean everyone, should be held accountable. So to that woman, I really hope that you sue that damn club. If you know the person that you did it, that you filed charges, and whoever else was involved and witnessed this shit, because we're tired. We're tired of having to constantly protect ourselves. We're tired of having to be our own advocates. We're tired of having to make posts like this to bring awareness when nobody gives a gosh damn. Fucking tired. What I'm most tired of is all the rhetoric around what a victim should do. How about we talk about what a perpetrator can do, and how not to become a gosh damn perpetrator, and how not to be one. How about that? How about that conversation? Instead of putting the onus on how for a woman to protect herself and walk in groups and do all of these things, how about the rhetoric is meant to not do some bullshit ass things, and not to be rapists, and not to be monsters, and not to be perpetrators. That's where the real conversation needs to happen. So let's shift the conversation on putting the responsibility on the victim, and let's really put it where it belongs, on a gosh damn perpetrator. And to anyone who has ever been in this situation or any type of rape-related situation, National Sexual Assault Line is there to assist. I'll provide the number at the bottom of the screen.
Police in the UK are investigating reports of women being drugged with needles while out at bars or clubs. Several women in cities across the country have reported blacking out after feeling scratching sensations, or waking up after blacking out and finding what they think are puncture wounds on their bodies. Student groups in more than 40 cities across the UK have organized boycotts of nightclubs and bars next week. A lot of people say not enough is being done about the issue of spiking, which is when somebody gives people drugs or alcohol without their knowledge, often by adding it to their drink. Drugs experts say that all the reports should be taken very seriously and investigated, but that it would be very difficult for somebody to spike someone using a needle, and that the most common way is by adding more alcohol to someone's alcoholic drink. A petition calling for clubs to do more to search customers for date rape drugs has gotten well over 100,000 signatures, which means that it may be considered for debate by the British Parliament.
Layla Bartlett shared this shocking video after she was allegedly spiked by a needle on a night out. Only one cocktail in, she started to feel dizzy and unwell before starting to spasm. Police are investigating.
Guys, we have a serious problem. There has been a significant rise where people have been spiked with drugs during parties or at festivals. The numbers have increased all over Europe and thus also in Berlin. In the last month, several people reported being needle spiked in popular clubs like Berghain and Sisyphos even. Although we definitely think the clubs should take responsibility and shouldn't let the victims fend for themselves, we still collected some hacks for you in case you've been spiked or in case you see someone struggling. Therefore, number 1, what you can do as a witness. If you see somebody struggling or passing out, bring them into a safe, upright position and seek help from the club staff. In case they start to convulse or cramp, place something soft like a jacket under their head. Do not hold them. If they reject your help, just communicate your concerns to the staff. Number 2, what you can do as a victim. Especially if you're on your own and you can't seek help with your close friends, try to contact the club staff or the awareness team. And yes, there are drug awareness teams in many clubs in Berlin. The next step, call 112. 112 is the number of the ambulance in Germany. Tell somebody to call them for you and to take you to a hospital. In the hospital, ask for an immediate blood screening. Especially ask to get tested for GHB, fentanyl, and scopolamine. Also, check your body for needle marks and let them verify by a doctor. And since you're already there, make an HIV screening. Hack number 5, you can seek professional help from counseling centers. They will help you with processing what you've experienced. In the comments, we linked a post from the Berlin Club Commission where they listed a lot of institutions. Well, how does all that make you feel? I can say for myself, not too good.
6 months ago in November, I was just with my brother and my cousin because my brother was home from London. And so we just went to my local pub to have, a few drinks, catch up. And then like halfway through the night, I noticed my leg, like my right thigh getting like really, really like sore. And I said it to my cousin and I was like, here, my leg's really sore. And she was like, do you want to go check it out? So we went to the bathroom and I pulled down my pants and there was just a huge bruise on my leg, but like it was a gigantic bruise, but there was like, I thought like, oh, I must have just knocked into a table or something, so then I continued with my night and my cousin like didn't really like see anything. She didn't like think I was off or anything until like a few hours in, so it took a couple of hours for like until like visibly like I was completely unconscious. I ended up in town somehow. I was completely blacked out on a table. I couldn't wake up. I was non-verbal. I remember being put into a taxi and then I fell asleep in the taxi and I was woken up and there was 2 lads in the taxi as well. I don't know who they were. And I was woken up being like, wake up, we're here now. And I just remember stumbling into, there's a nightclub in town and it's like 25s. So I don't even know how I got in because I was only 18 at the time. And I just remember going in there and immediately just like conking out and I lost my phone. I definitely didn't drink enough to like get in the state I was in. But like I didn't even think like it was the last thing that I would have thought had happened. And especially because it was like my leg, I'd never even heard of being spiked by a needle before,
Yeah.
So the last thing I expected was to have been spiked. I didn't think anything was off and until the next morning when I woke up and you could literally see the puncture hole of like where the needle was put in.
Wow.
Yeah, and my whole entire leg was bruised, like spread all over my leg. And I went to A&E and they told me that I was so lucky that it wasn't like a heroin needle, because if I'd been injected with heroin, that could have like ruined my whole life. I could have been like addicted, you know, to heroin, I would have had to, like, it would have just completely messed my whole life up. So they said I was so lucky that it wasn't that. But I went to A&E the next morning, and they said it was too late. They couldn't identify the drug that was in me because I would have had to have gone like straight after it happened.
Was there a conversation with doctors in the hospital about going to the Gardaí? Was there a conversation about kind of a rape kit? Was there a conversation about anything like that?
Yeah.
About possible sexual assault?
Yeah, there was. They like had asked me if I thought I'd been like interfered with or anything, but I honestly, I didn't have a clue. They like hopefully, and I'm so thankful that I don't think like I was sexually assaulted or anything like that, but like I still went and like took a morning after pill, like just in case my mum wanted me to, which is just a horrible thing because like I was 18 years of age. I was going out with my brother.
God, it's an awful thing. Even the way you just said it, I don't think.
Yeah.
Like, so you still couldn't be absolutely sure?
Yeah, no, I couldn't be absolutely sure. And the hospital, they didn't really do much. They were just like, oh, did you like notice anything like unusual down there? I was just like, no. And like that was kind of it then. And then there wasn't much talk of like going to the guards. And when we went to the guards, they were completely rude about it. Like we had to go to 2 different Garda stations because the first girl, she was like, okay, and when did this happen? And then my mum was like, we're getting out of here. We walked out on her. She was so rude. Then we went to the next Garda station, and he literally like, it was like they didn't even bring me into a room. It was like a conversation through the glass. He just picked up a random piece of paper. It was like, what were you wearing that night? And where were you? And I told him, and then he was like, okay, I'll ring you back with more information. Never got a phone call back. The pub that it happened in was actually the most helpful because they went through the CCTV and they said they found someone that like seemed to be like lurking around me and unusual, but like they asked me if like the guards can't do anything, like if they want me for them to take it further. But I was just so sick of it at this point because the guards were no help.
Are currently dealing with a wave of reports of spike-ins by injections at nightclubs and parties.
There have been reports of it in people's backs, in their arms, thighs. One was suspected to be in my hand.
We take the actions they tell us to prevent getting a drink spike. No one tells you how to protect yourself from an injection.
It's just the bruising, it's like a perfect circle. Inside it's sort of hard, as if it's like a scar that should be there. And right in the middle, the little pinprick.
An alarming number of women have reported needle spiking in a worrying epidemic sweeping the UK, with a number of alleged incidents internationally. Almost 200 spiking incidents, including those of injection spiking, have been reported to police forces across the UK over the past 2 months, with many more appearing on social media as women bravely share their stories to warn others.
I know at least 5 girls that have been spiked in the last couple of weeks.
My words were sort of slurring a bit when I was talking. My eyes were kind of rolling as well at times, my friend had said.
Many of the alleged attacks involve terrifying accounts of women being pricked by a needle while at a bar or nightclub and quickly being left in paralysed states.
My friends told me that out of nowhere I stopped being able to talk. And then I started really freaking out. And then they said I was making absolutely no sense. And I suddenly stopped being able to stand up as well. Apparently I was kind of screaming out, then going unconscious. And so they called the ambulance.
I only knew it happened like when I saw the videos of it.
She was unable to move. Her boyfriend filmed this footage, which she wanted us to broadcast.
Go to bed.
Despite police taking reports seriously, there have been no arrests or charges laid, and fear among women is high.
It's like terror, because genuinely we don't know what's going to happen to us when we go out. Like, it's so indiscriminate.
University students across the UK took matters into their own hands, demanding action in a national Girls' Night In boycott of nightclubs and pubs.
The first thing we're hoping to achieve is really to build momentum and show clubs, bars, venues, staff, the police, that we are going to take this seriously. We're going to stand up for this issue. We're not going to take spiking as something that just happens, something you just have to be careful of on a night out anymore.
An online petition calling for nightclubs to be required to thoroughly search people on entry has garnered over 170,000 signatures.
We can't just give a message to young girls to keep themselves safe. We have to be more vigilant in nightclubs and bars, and we have to address the cultural issues behind this, where men are thinking it's okay to either spike a drink or potentially to stab someone with a syringe.